الخلائق الأجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وعلى غاصبي حقوقهم وعلى منكري فضائلهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. آمين رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته، السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته، السلام على ساكن كربلاء. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي، يا سادتي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين عند ربك لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ويسبحون ويسجدون له. صدق الله العلي العظيم وآمنا به. نوروا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أحبائي, in this journey of fulfilling the purpose of your existence, this journey cannot begin, cannot end and will not have any direction unless you have Ahlul Bayt dictating the journey. And our ability to understand the Ahlul Bayt is contingent upon the Quran, understanding of the Quran. You find hadith mu'tabar between the Amma and the Khassa, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam states, إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ or thiqlayn, كِتَابُ اللَّهِ وَعِتْرَةِ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي مَا إِن تَمَسَّكْتُمْ بِهِمَا لَن تَذِلُّوا بَعْدِي أَبَدًا. I leave behind for you two weighty things, Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. Ma in tamassaktum bihima, so long as you hold on to both of these, the Quran and the Itra, lan tadhillu ba'di abada. Lam noon, the particle within lam noon, for those of you who are studying Arabic grammar or Arabic language, is a particle of negation that indicates towards the present tense and the future continuous tense. Meaning that today and in the future, if you need to protect, if you want to protect yourself from going astray, you need the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. لَن تَذِلُّوا بَعْدِي أَبَدًا. Look at the word تَذِلُّ. تَذِلُّ is a derivation from the word dalala. Dalala, a derivation of the word dalleen. In Surah Al-Hamd, you say غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. The end part of Surah Al-Hamd is actually a dua. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. The sigha, again, those of you who are studying Arabic language, ihdina from the word hidayah. Ihdina sighat al-dua. Ya Allah, ihdina, give us the hidayah. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, to be on the sirat al-mustaqim. Yani on the sirat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Keep this conclusion in your mind as you progress through the lecture. So in your dua, in your salat, Surah Al-Hamd, you have asked for a hidayah to be on the path of Amir, dua. This is not enough. After this, you are also continuing with the dua. Sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim, which is an explanation of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Second part of the dua, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ. Ya Allah, keep me away from the path of those upon whom your wrath and your anger is upon them. Keep me away from them. مَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Keep me away from those who are the ضَالِّينَ. Who is the ضَالِّينَ? Those who have left the Quran and the Itra. Because Rasulullah says, Ma in tamassaktum bihima lan tadillu. The word over here is tadillu. You shall never go astray. And in Surah Al-Hamd, every day, 10 times a day, we are saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keep me away from those who are astray. So I have to ask myself, who are those people who are considered to be astray, the da'leen? Rasulullah says, those who have left the Quran or the Ahlul Bayt. So in your salat, you are actually doing dua. Keep me on the path of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. If we understand this, look at this verse of the Holy Quran from Surah Al-A'raf. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Rasulullah, the quality of the true believers. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ وَيُسَبِّحُونَ وَيَسْجُدُونَ لَهُ. The true believer is the one who is not arrogant when it comes to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا يستكبرون عن عبادته. The person who is not arrogant when it comes to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And over here you find the tafsir of the Quran through the words of Ahlul Bayt. Tahara is a condition for salat. Bila shakkin wala rayb. You cannot be in a state of salat if you are not in a state of tahara. And tahara, either through wudu, or through ghusl, or through tayammum. Muhim, a person has to be in a state of tahara before salat, or in a state of salat. This tahara of the body is actually not a goal, it is a medium. The tahara of the body through wudu and the ghusl and tayammum that you find within the Risala Amaliyah, which you find within the hadith of Ahlul Bayt in books such as Wasa'il al-Shi'a, this tahara which we usually consider to be a prerequisite for the validity of your salat is a superficial or a surface level understanding of tahara. There is a meaning which is much deeper to tahara, where the purification of your body is not an end goal, rather it is a means to the purification of the heart. Which is why, if I'm not mistaken, it was amongst you brothers that we had a discussion one time on the meaning of Qa'idul Ghurra al-Muhajjalin. One of the titles of Amirul Mu'mineen is Qa'idul Ghurra al-Muhajjalin. Ghurra al-Muhajjalin is those people with the shining faces. The Qa'id and the master and the commander of the people with the shining faces is Amirul Mu'mineen. Who is Ghurra al-Muhajjalin, the people of the shining faces? Imam al-Sadiq Ruhi Lahul Fida says, the people who are constantly in wudu. Subhanallah. The master and the qa'id, the leader, the amir, is the amir of the people who are constantly in a state of wudu. And you find straight away that wudu has an impact that is aqa'idi. For you find that the true believer in Surah Al-A'raf is the one who is not arrogant in his worship, meaning that when I approach my salat, when I approach acts of worship, I have to be in a state of mind, and my heart has to be in a state which is free of arrogance. What is the goal of salat? One of the goals of salat, the philosophy of salat, which is outlined to us by Siddiqat al-Kubra, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, alayha salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And one of the reasons why salat was ordained upon you, tanzihan lakum min al-kibr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained upon us salat to purify us from arrogance. In fact, the beginning point of salat is supposed to demolish any aspect of arrogance within us. Takbiratul ihram. Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than. If you look at the word in Arabic, the statement or the phrase in itself is an incomplete statement. It's an open-ended statement. Once a person asked Imam al-Sadiq, or Imam al-Sadiq tested one of his companions, he said to him, what is the meaning of Allahu Akbar? He said, Allah is greater than anything. He said, you have performed shirk. Ajib. He said, how? He said, because you compared the greatness of Allah to anything. Allah is greater than, khalas. That goes beyond the comprehension of the mind. And when the mind begins to understand that you are standing before this Lord and this deity who is greater than our sense of comprehension. It is supposed to break and shatter every aspect of arrogance that may be within us. If there is a Jabbar, it is the Jabbar who I do sajda to. Allah Azza wa Jal. On the other hand, when you come on this aspect of arrogance, you find that Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, states that another dimension of arrogance is arrogance towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, before we begin this point, you find that this is one of the primary reasons of the establishment of the institution of sajda. To put your forehead on earth and to remind yourself that this was your beginning and this is your end. And when it comes to any mawqif, any stance, any situation in my daily life, be it with family, be it with colleagues, be it with anyone, that if there comes a point in time where my arrogance overtakes me, I need to understand that I exist in the realm of this one creator through whom I'm nothing but an insignificant speck. This reality needs to sink into Bani Adam. The first sin to be committed was the sin of arrogance. Arrogance of shaitan to Adam. See, the issue with takabbur or arrogance is that sometimes it starts with other human beings. The point is, the problem is not the starting point. The problem is the end point. This takabbur against other Bani Adam programs a man to be so mutakabbir and so mutajabbir. Slowly by slowly, he starts becoming a Fir'aun in his own mind, and the end result is that he displays arrogance towards the Imam of his time. This is the issue, because it becomes a part and parcel of a person's character. They become indifferent to guidance, indifferent to the words of the Ma'soom Imam, because there is arrogance in submitting to the truth. And in the dhuhur of Imam, you find numerous hadith inside of books that speak about the dhuhur of the Imam. You refer back to Ghaiba of Sheikh Tusi, Ghaiba of Sheikh Nu'mani. You will find that one of the biggest issues that the 12th Imam will face from amongst the Muslim Ummah in general and the Shia in particular is the arrogance of the Shia towards the Imam. They will acknowledge he is the Ma'soom Imam. The hadith says, some of them will even refer back to the Imam by saying, Yabna Fatima. You know, Yabna Fatima is a reference to the Imam by an exclusive group of people who have a certain level of ma'rifah, because they speak to the Imam acknowledging that he is the son of Fatima, who is Abiha. They didn't say Yabna Rasulullah. They didn't say Yabna Amir al-Mu'mineen. They said Yabna Fatima. Fatima, the markaz and the connection between the Risala and the Imama. They understand this. But their takabbur became a parda and a hijab towards obedience. The problem with takabbur is the end point. Tayyib. This is one aspect, arrogance and takabbur. On the other hand, in the tafsir, Imam al-Sadiq Ruhillahu al-Fida provides us with a different dimension, or with a new dimension in regards to istikbar or takabbur. where he states arrogance towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the Quran says the true believer is the one الذين إن الذين عند ربك لا يستكبرون عن عبادته, are not arrogant towards their Lord. Ajib. How can a person be arrogant towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Imam al-Sadiq says, the person, hadith ajib wa gharib. Imam al-Sadiq says, the person who completes his salat and stands up from the prayer mat, this is to paraphrase, and stands up from the prayer mat without performing dua or seeking help or seeking his hajat from Allah, is considered as somebody who is arrogant. A human being who is in need of an external power for every aspect of success in his life, your ability to breathe, your ability, ajalakumullah, to go to the washroom is not in your control. We are constantly dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for man to stand up after prayer without raising in his hands in dua, Imam al-Sadiq says, is an act of arrogance towards Allah. Who do you think you are that you can stand up and not ask for rizq from Allah? Rizq is in your hands, health is in your hands, wealth is in your hands. No.
Subhanallah.
Imam al-Sadiq says arrogance towards Allah in terms of downplaying the institution of dua in itself is a form of arrogance. If we understand this, you find that with the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, diraya is more important than the riwayah. Understanding hadith and Quran, a verse of the Quran or a single hadith is better than 1,000 hadith that is narrated. So if we understand there is this aspect of takabbur, which is spoken about within the Quran towards ibadah, you look at takabbur from a wilaya perspective. Quran says what? The true believer is who? إن الذين عند ربك لا يستكبرون عن عبادته. Those who are not arrogant towards ibadah. And the ibadah we said is what? Worship of Allah. Sah? Look at the wilaya aspect of this. Hadith al-Sharif, which is narrated in Amali of Sheikh Tusi. And in this chain of narrations, the hadith is mu'tabar, even though the sanad and the chain of narrators in reality has no value when it comes to the accreditation of hadith of this sort. Tabarrukan, for you to know, Sheikh Tusi in his Amali narrates this hadith from Sheikh al-Mufid. Sheikh al-Mufid was the teacher of Sheikh Tusi. Sheikh Mufid narrates this hadith from Ibn Qawlaway. Ibn Qawlaway is the author of Kamil al-Ziyarat, and he was the teacher of Sheikh Mufid. So you can imagine 3 maraj al-taqleed passing on this hadith verbally, chest to chest. And this chain of narrator goes on to Muhammad ibn Muslim. Muhammad ibn Muslim is one of those companions who was designated the member on behalf of Imam al-Sadiq to give fatwas on halal and haram in the presence of a ma'soom imam. Imam al-Sadiq appointed Muhammad ibn Muslim to sit on the member and to guide people on issues of halal and haram, obviously through the hadith of Ahlul Bayt. Hadith al-Sharif by Imam al-Sadiq, Ruhi lahu al-Fida. نفس المحموم لظلمنا تسبيح. The breath of a person who is in a state of grief for the dhulm that has happened upon us is tasbih. When you are listening to the Marcia, you are in a state of grief. In this time that the Marcia that was recited, every breath that you took whilst you were in a state of grief, Imam al-Sadiq says the reality of this breath is tasbih.
Yep.
When you are in a state of grief during masa'ib, every breath that you take is tasbih. You go for ziyarah any time of the day. Enter, if you were to sit every day for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, outside of Shahr al-Muharram, outside of Shahr al-Safar, and you were just to say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, and think of this masa'ib, this breath is tasbih. And you don't know which tasbih from these many tasbihs of masa'ib. You don't know which tasbih is going to tilt the mizan and the scale on the day of judgment. The reality is that it is tasbih. How misguided are those people who downplay the importance of azadari and masa'ib? It is the equivalent of downplaying the importance of a tasbih. بعد the Imam goes on to say, نفس المحموم لظلمنا تسبيح وحمه لأمرنا عبادة. To be concerned about the affairs of Ahlul Bayt, to be concerned about the affairs of the Ahlul Bayt is a form of ibadah. The affairs of Ahlul Bayt, the very biggest manifestation of being concerned with the affairs of the Ahlul Bayt is the majalis of Ahlul Bayt and the azadari of Ahlul Bayt. Majalis al-Hussein, majalis Ahlul Bayt, azadari of Imam al-Hussein, azadari of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. For you to be concerned about these majalis is a form of ibadah. If you understand that the institution of majalis and the institution of azadari is an ibadah, as per the hadith of Imam al-Sadiq, you come back to the Quran, Surah Al-A'raf, in the same verse, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ. The true believer is the one who is not arrogant when it comes towards ibadah. And you know that from the words of Imam al-Sadiq, one example or manifestation of ibadah is the majalis of Imam al-Hussein. We begin to understand to display arrogance towards the majalis of Imam al-Hussein is a crime. Not only is it necessary for us to attend the majalis with humility, but our attitude towards the majlis should not be an attitude of arrogance. When I begin to dictate how a majlis or how azadari should be reduced, should be diluted, should be refined, this is arrogance towards the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To discourage the aza of Imam al-Hussein is arrogance towards the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is diraya. This is istidlal of Quran and Hadith. Is arrogance towards it. When I feel that I am too great to do matter, when I feel that I am too educated, I am too wealthy to cry and to weep and to beat my chest, this is arrogance. Arrogance towards ibadah. And this is where yesterday we said the institution of Ashura is tied to our usuluddin. This issue of istikbar and arrogance, you find it even within the institution of ziyarah, where you find the Imam outlines the fact that, the conditions for the acceptance of ziyarah is very few. If you look through the entire literature that speaks about the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt, you will find, if you go through the literature that we have, be it Kamilu Ziyarat, be it Wasailu Shia, be it Bihar, you will find that when the Imams speak about ziyarah and talk about encouraging other people to go to ziyarah, the Imam puts very few restrictions on ziyarah. He limits the restrictions that there are for a person ziyarah to be qabul. The Imam is so Kareem, the Imam is so Rahim, the institution of Karbala is so vast, and this Safina has a capacity to accept so many people. There are very few restrictions on whose ziyarah cannot be accepted.
Subhanallah.
The thawab will be different, the darajat of ma'rifah will be different, darajat in Jannah will be different, without a doubt. But one thing is for sure, nobody returns empty-handed from Karbala,
Subhanallah.
from ziyarah. Even if a person was a munafiq, Imam al-Hussein at the minimum will settle his account with him in the dunya. Muhim, no one goes empty-handed. This issue of arrogance, شوفوا Hadith al-Sharif, which is found again in Bihar, volume 98. Hadith al-Sharif is narrated by Maulana Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ورأيت ظهور إمام زمانة ترنت الصلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا علي.
من زار أمير المؤمنين. Many times we have majalis on the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, which is in its own maqam, la shakin wa la raib. Because these are nights that are the nights of Sayyid al-Zahra and the nights of Sayyid Muhsin, the nights of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Hadith in regards to the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Najaf al-Ashraf. Najaf al-Ashraf should never be treated as a transit point getting towards Karbala. Karbala is Karbala, Karbala is Jannah. Najaf is headquarters. Hadith al-Sharif by the 6th Imam. من زار أمير المؤمنين عارفا بحقه. Look at the conditions. The person who performs the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, having ma'rifah in regards to the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen over the entire creation. What is the haqq of Amir al-Mu'mineen? He has a right over me and over you. So we have hukuk al-walidain. The walidain, our parents have a right over us, our children have a right over us, our spouses have a right over us, our neighbors have a right over us. Amir al-Mu'mineen has a right over us, has a right over this entire creation. Man zara Amir al-Mu'mineen arifan bihaqqih. The first condition. To have ma'rifah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. غير متجبر Wala mutakabbir. Mutakabbir from takabbur. We can all agree that one of the greatest acts of ibadah is the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allah says in the Quran, the true believer is the one who doesn't have takabbur. La yastakbiruna an ibadatih. Those who do not have arrogance when it comes to the worship of Allah. And the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen is an act of worship, which means when I perform the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I should not have an iota of arrogance within me. And the Imam al-Sadiq outlines this reality. Man zara Amir al-Mu'mineen arifan bihaqqih, غير متجبر ولا متكبر. Look at the condition of ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That a person should have ma'rifah on one side, ilm, and on the action side, the amal, his akhlaq, he should not have arrogance. When somebody like Amir al-Mu'mineen, who was created from the nur of Rasulullah, and through the nur of Amir al-Mu'mineen, this entire kawn came into existence. If this Amir doesn't have arrogance, how can you and I dare to have arrogance? The person who has arrogance, aslan, with what face does he enter the haram of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Hadith al-Sharif says, La mutakabbir. If a person enters with this ma'rifah and lack of arrogance, شوفوا الحديث, كتب الله له أجر 100,000 شهيد. He is given the reward of 100,000 shaheed. Do you know who is shaheed as per the literature of Ahlul Bayt? Shaheed are the people like Ammar ibn Yasir. Shaheed are the people like Habib ibn Madahir. What is this institution of the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen that fetches rewards as high as this? But we have hadith that are even much deeper than this. There was a companion, and this is again found in Bihar. Companion is from the Shi'as of Imam al-Sadiq Ruhilahul Fida. He came and he visited Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq asked him, where did you come from? He said, I came from Iraq. Imam al-Sadiq asked him, did you visit Amir al-Mu'mineen? He said, no, Imam, I didn't have an opportunity to visit him. Look at what the Imam says. لولا أنت من شيعتنا لما نظرت إليك. Had you not been from our Shi'as, I would not even look at you. احترام مقام نجف الأشرف أمير المؤمنين. What is it within this institution of ziyarah, which is ibadah, ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that fetches a person the reward of 100,000 shaheed? The ziyarah towards Amir al-Mu'mineen is supposed to represent from the time you leave your homes here in Toronto and you go through a grinding flight with long transit hours, and with all your tiredness you reach Najaf al-Ashraf in the heat. And when you are without any level of comfort that you are used to over here, in this manner you go to Amir al-Mu'mineen to perform ziyarah. It is supposed to represent your willingness to go through a hijrah, to give bay'ah to the rightful Khalif of Rasulullah. Bay'ah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you understand this, Ahibba'i, put one thing in your mind. Bay'ah does not come with luxury, and bay'ah does not come with comfort. Eid al-Ghadir, we all celebrate Eid al-Ghadir. And شوفوا what is one of the most mashhoor events that happened on Eid al-Ghadir. Rasulullah made the people wait in Ju'fa under the scorching sun, and the heat was such that people were putting cloths over their head, and they would remove their Abbas and put it on the sand because their feet were burning. They would say, Rasulullah, you are torturing us, you're supposed to be rahmatan lil alameen, and yet you make us wait in the scorching desert heat at noon. For what? Rasulullah was teaching the people when it comes to the bay'ah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, have tahammul.
जमी बोली फलक बोला
अली मौला, अली मौला,
सुबह के साथ दिल बोला
अली मौला, अली मौला,
तेरा मौला मेरा मौला
अली मौला, अली मौला,
मुझे रोका मैं फिर बोला
अली मौला, अली मौला,
नारे हैदरी
Haniyan, congratulations to those brothers who are able to go for the ziyarah, be it in Muharram or Arba'in, and were able to taste the heat in Najaf al-Ashraf while performing the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. To read in the riwayah that the Sahaba and the companions had to wait under the heat to give bay'ah to Amir al-Mu'mineen is one thing. But for you to experience this heat and then revisit this hadith, your engagement is different. Because now you don't read something theoretical. You are able to relate to something that you have experienced, even if it's not to the same degree. And this is the entire ethos of Azadari. You look at Azadari in its most intense forms, which includes the letting of blood from the back, from the head, or from the chest. The ethos behind this Azadari is for you to experience a sort of pain and the infliction of a wound that reminds you of the wounds that were inflicted on Imam al-Hussein. And for a person to say, Ya Aba Abdullah, the sinner that I am, here is my body in your defense. And the idea is that this inculcates within us akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt. More than our body, Ahlul Bayt require our hearts. Taslim. For Hadith al-Sharif in regards to the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, a person goes to Amir al-Mu'mineen in the heat. He goes without takabbur. And as we said, takabbur is what leads a person towards to go against the Imam Zaman of his time. And when you are supposed to go to Amir al-Mu'mineen without takabbur, it is also for you to understand that the driving factor in Saqifa, as a result of which these people usurped the rights of Amir al-Mu'mineen, is because they had takabbur towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were arrogant towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. How is it that a person younger than me can be a khalif over me? Takabbur. How is it that a person who's from Bani Hashim become a khalif over Bani Tamim and the rest of Quraysh and over Bani Umayyah? Takabbur. How is it that Ali was given the hand of Fatima and not anybody else? Takabbur. How is it that Ali was given the flag of Rasulullah on the day of Khaybar and nobody else? It was takabbur. When they said to Umar ibn Khattab, and he wanted to light the door on fire, they said to him, but Fatima and Hassan and Hussein are in the house. Do you know why they said Fatima and Hassan and Hussein are in the house? Because the name Fatima, Hassan and Hussein, when the dhikr of these three names were done, it was expected that the Sahaba would melt with khushu. Because the Quran said, Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Between the Sunni and the Shi'i, they are in agreement that from the ulil amri is Amir al-Mu'mineen. Within the text of the Sunni and the Shia, Ayatul Tathir includes Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. And the idea was that if you know these are people of Tathir, when their dhikr is done, it is supposed to create khushu in your heart. So when they said to Omar, you have to join these dots. When they said to him, but Fatima and Hassan and Hussein are inside, why did they say this? Because there was this element that yes, you have usurped their rights, but at the end of the day, over here, you have people from Ayatul Tathir. Look at the response. وَإِنَّ This is takabbur. Even if they are inside. Which is why in Ziyarat Ashura, as we said yesterday, Allahumma al-an awwal zalimin zalama haqqa Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bani Umayyah wa akhira tabi'in lahu ala dhalik. Look at the structure of the sentence within Ziyarat Ashura. Asl al-la'na is on those who usurp the rights of Ahlul Bayt. What Bani Umayyah did on Ashura, tabi'in lahu. They're just following the foundation, following the path for the foundation that was set with them. When Umar had the audacity to say, وَإِنْ even those companions who are munafiqeen that would not cross a limit, now had the jur'ah to cross a limit. This is the meaning of the word وَإِنْ. When Rasulullah asked for a pen and a paper, and he said, I write for you a final statement which will be a seal, your final remembrance from your holy prophet in regards to historical evidence for the entire mankind till the day of judgment. If the Muslim Ummah was to be asked before your prophet left this world, what did your prophet say? There would have been this eternal document of salvation, which if no two people would have disagreed upon, there would be no Jahannam. It was Umar who went and said, Inna rajul or innahu la yahjur. He has become delirious. No other person has insulted Rasulullah like the people of Saqifa have done, including Umar. Today the Quran is burnt. There are protests and demonstrations. I'm sure if you remember or if you've read the news, Salman Rushdie wrote satanic verses. What happened through the entire Muslim world? But what Salman Rushdie did was, I'm not saying what he did is acceptable, but what he did was nothing compared to what Umar ibn Khattab has done. And if you want to condemn those people, condemn them. I'm not saying no, but don't be hypocritical in your stance. Don't be selective when it comes to condemning those. In any case, takabbur is the reason, or one of the leading reasons, together with bughd and enmity. Takabbur was the reason that Amir al-Mu'mineen's rights were usurped, which is why Imam as-Sadiq says, if you understand that Amir al-Mu'mineen's rights were usurped because of arrogance towards him, which is why when you go and visit Amirul Mu'mineen, ensure you don't have a grain of arrogance inside of you, because you are showing Amirul Mu'mineen that I am different from your enemies, I'm from your Shia. That's why if you go back into the hadith, Farhatul Gharib is a text which is authored particularly in the ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen. You will find that there is hadith that even state when you walk into the haram of Amirul Mu'mineen, walk. The hadith actually says this: walk with your chin down on your chest. Think about chin down on your chest, how your head has to be lowered when you enter into the hadra of Amirul Mu'mineen. And this ziyarah is a ziyarah, as we said, bay'ah. Your ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen is your hijrah, to come to Amir al-Mu'mineen and say, even though we were not present on the day of Ghadir to give you bay'ah, when Rasulullah said, Man kuntum mawla fahada aliyun mawla, here we are today, here I am today to give bay'ah to you. The ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen during the nights of Fatimiyya, Allahu Akbar, is not only a ziyarah that entails bay'ah, but additionally It is a ziyarah in which you come to give condolences to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I don't know how you buried Sayyid Muhammad. I don't know where you buried Sayyid Muhammad. I don't even know if anybody came and gave you condolences, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. I don't know, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, if you were at the grave of Sayyid Muhsin or you were tending to the broken rib of Sayyid between the grave of Muhsin and the injuries of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. You were at the qabr of Rasulullah. I don't know, but here I am to give condolences to you. The ziyarah is condolences. The same thing when it comes to the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. Before, everyone has their own way to do ziyarah. The ulama in the house tell us when you go and you perform the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, can you say, give condolences to Imam al-Hussein for Zainab. Zainab went through a lot after Ashura. She was imprisoned, Ya Aba Abdullah, to keep your message alive. This is that Zainab who Amir al-Mu'mineen would ensure that her shadow was not seen in Kufa. Ya Aba Abdullah, this Zainab today was a prisoner inside of Kufa. And if there is anything that hurts Sayyida Zainab, if there is anything that hurts Sayyida Zainab, it was the manner in which that she was brought as a prisoner into Kufa and into Sham. I've said this before, into Mu'mineen, you are all Mu'mineen, people of Ghira. Ghira means you are people who have a high level of protection and a sense of protection over your women. If I was to tell you, any one of you, if I was to tell you, we are in a Majlis Aza and we are sitting amongst lovers of Ali Muhammad. It's a men's Majlis. If I were to say to you, can you bring your wife and make her sit, or your sister make her sit in the middle of a Majlis, you would say to me, Sheikhna, you have not done justice to us. I say to you, even if the people are Mu'mineen, even if the Majlis is a Majlis Aza, this is the respect of our women. I say, Allah, you and I have Ghira, that our women don't come amongst respectable men. Over here is Zainab. She has entered into Darbar Shah, surrounded by drunkards, surrounded by people who look at her with the most evil of I give condolences to Imam al-Hussein on the tragedy of Zainab. Zainab al-Masa'ib, Allahu Akbar. And with the tragedy of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, with the tragedy of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, between the tragedy of Zahra and the tragedy of Karbala is al-Masa'ib, Sayyidah Zainab. I want to mention for you two parts of the Masa'ib on the day of Ashura, where Sayyidah Zainab remembered Hamada Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. The narrations mention on the day of Ashura. Do you know on the day of Ashura, there were 3 times that the body of Imam al-Hussein was trampled upon. Do you know there are 3 times? Twice the body of Imam al-Hussein was trampled before Shah-e Ghariban, after he became Shaheed, and after Shimar al-La'in beheaded Imam al-Hussein. The headless body of Sayyid al-Shuhada on the plains of Karbala. So Umar ibn Sa'ad shouted out, bring me 10 horsemen to trample on the back of Imam al-Hussein. So they brought him horses. Umar ibn Sa'ad said, no, I want horses that have not been used in war. They said, why? He said, I want hooves and fresh horses that will break this body. The narrations mention that 10 horsemen came. The body of Sayyid al-Shuhada in the middle. Allah, Allah. They trampled on the back of Sayyid al-Shuhada. When they trampled on the back of Imam al-Hussein, Umar ibn Sa'ad said, this is the first time. They said that trample on down, turn over the body and trample on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. One of the ulama who writes the Maktal, he says, when I was writing this part of the Maktal, he said, I thought to myself, when they trampled on the back of Imam al-Hussein, what remained from the body to trample on the chest? One of the enemies himself says, we trampled on the body of Imam al-Hussein and we ground his bones. We crushed his bones until we couldn't separate the bone from the sands of Karbala. Shiazade Mohamed, these are 2 times that the body of Imam al-Hussein were trampled after his martyrdom. When Sayyida Zainab came out of the Khaymaga and she sees the trampled body of Imam al-Hussein, forgive me, Shiazade Mohamed, if you have been to Karbala, if they have been to Karbala, take your heart back to the Hadra of Imam al-Hussein. So you know, have you seen where the Katlaga is? The Katlaga. And look at where the Thari of Imam al-Hussein is. The Katlaga is where Shimar sat on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. The Thari is where Imam al-Sajjad buried Sayyid al-Shuhada. This is where the body was found. Meaning that when they trampled on the body of Imam al-Hussein, between the Katlaga and where he was buried, the body of Imam al-Hussein was thrown by the hooves of when Zainab came out of the Khaymaga and she saw this, the elders in the house, and they say Zainab looked to the heavens and she cried out, oh my mother Fatima! They say, why did Zainab cry Fatima? With the broken ribs of Sayyid al-Shuhada, she remembered the broken rib of her mother Fatima. May your tears bring coolness to the heart of Zainab and Sayyida Zahra, Shi'at Muhammad. We don't know next year if we will have life to cry over Imam al-Hussein or not. The second time Sayyida Zainab called out to Hamada, the narrations mention Shama Ghariban as the enemies came to plunder the tents of Ali Muhammad. Umar ibn Sa'ad cried out, Ahrikul khiyama la man fiha. He cried out, burn down the tents upon the people who were inside of the tents. So they began to ride their horses towards the Khaymaga. Umar ibn Sa'ad was the first one to light wood with fire. He then threw the firewood into the Khaymaga. The tents were lit on fire. The women all ran into the tent of Sayyida Zainab. They asked Imam al-Sajjad what we should do. Imam al-Sajjad says, come out of the burning tents to save their lives. The women began running out of the burning tents. There is burning smoke, there is black smoke everywhere. On one hand you have Sayyida Zainab trying to remove Imam Zayn al-Abidin from the burning tent. On the other hand you have Layla running out. You have Sayyida Rabi running out. Sayyida Kulthum, Sayyida Safiya Ruqayya and Sayyida Khawla. The children in every direction. The Maktal mentioned Sayyida Ruqayya over here. When she ran out of the burning tent, she was not able to see where she's running. Dark black smoke everywhere. So she ran into the horsemen. She ran into Khuli. Khuli held Sayyida Sakina by the hand. The narration mentions over here that Khuli slapped Sayyida Allah. When Zainab from the side of the burning tent, she's pulling Imam Zayn al-Abidin out from the corner of the eye. When she saw Khuli slap Sayyida Ruqayya,
आई बहन शबीर की जाके कदमों से लिपट दिल की कब्र से बेसर बहत्तर कन उठे ताज़ीम को देख इस्तकबाल को है फुरात शमशीर की कैद से छुट कर आता काफिला सवार का पूछ ले उनसे सितम जिंदान की जागीर का या हुसैन 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 या खैर अमल हैया अला खैर अमल हैया अला खैर अमल या हुसैन 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 खैर अमल हैया अला खैर अमल हैया अला खैर अमल हैया अला खैर अमल हैया अला खैर या हुसैन या हुसैन मनाने आई हूँ कैद मेरी गुजर गई भैया मेरा चलो मनाने आई हूँ कैद मेरी गुजर गई अली अली तेरा चलो मनाने आई हूँ कैद मेरी गुजर गई भैया मेरे हाथों में लगे उतर गई भैया कैद मेरी गुजर गई भैया मेरा चलो मनाने आई हूँ कैद मेरी गुजर गई भैया मेरा चलो मनाने आई हूँ कैद मेरी गुजर गई भैया दिल छुपने नहीं दिया तेरा हर सजा को का दिया पुरसा दिल छुपने नहीं दिया तेरा हर जगह का दिया
قبول